Thank you. Good job, Greg. Get a gold star. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Betsy Gardner-Eckbert. I'm the CEO and president of the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce. And to have you all here, and especially to have a group of people across the hall in the New England room, I want to make a special welcome to them, and particularly to our audience online and on TV through Orange TV. We're so excited to have you all here today and to be able to engage with such a broad audience who want to hear from the mayor about the accomplishments and vision he has for the city that lie ahead. So we're thrilled that you could be here. So whether you're right here in our room at the Alfond or you're joining us via live stream or on Orange TV, welcome to the 2018 State of the City Luncheon. We're thrilled to share this event with all of you. So the Chamber's impact is the greatest when partnered with community trustees and stewards like the ones who've chosen to sponsor today's event. We're particularly grateful to ACI Architects and Florida Hospital for presenting today's luncheon. I would like to invite Julie Von Weller, the Director of Community Strategies at ACI Architects, to come to the microphone now and share a few words.
The other day, I was with a friend of mine who said, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk together. That really resonated with me. And when I look across this room, it's exactly what I see. I see our citizens, our business community, and our leaders walking together. Good morning, my name is Julie Von Weller, and I work at ACI Architects in the Community Strategies Department. We've been headquartered here for the last, actually more than 20 years in Winter Park. I've also had the good fortune of being raised here, and I'm now raising my own children with my husband here in my hometown. I feel very lucky about that. Most of you know ACI and some of our architectural work, and for those of you who don't, I invite you to visit our website and social media to learn about the latest projects we're working on and what's happening in our industry. You will see work over the last 2 decades where we have had the honor of creating impactful spaces in many different cities, Winter Park, across our region, and the globe. The same can be said for the leaders here today. These are the men and women who work so hard, spend so much time away from their family, their friends, and other obligations to create meaningful spaces here for you. And not just right now, but for those businesses who have yet to move into our city, for those families who have yet to come and experience what raising a family like here in Winter Park is. And that's really special. Meaningful work by our local government translates into meaningful spaces. It's our mission every day to work with our clients and communities to create those same pockets of meaningful spaces which translate into meaningful moments, whether that's with your family, your colleagues, your friends, or even perfect strangers. It's these moments of connection and memorable experience that these leaders have committed to delivering. So, today in the political landscape that we all find ourselves in, we're very fortunate. The reality is these commissioners, this mayor, and the incredible city staff that we have in Winter Park comes to work every day to create a better quality of life for you and those to come. So we've thought of a fun way to honor them. The first 5 people who go up to an elected official or one of our great city staff and say thank you. Thank you for your service to our community. Thank you for helping keep our families safe. Thank you for creating a business climate that truly matters in this town. Make it authentic, whatever it is that speaks to you. Come find me and we'll give you a ticket to the upcoming Winter Park Chamber's hot seat where entrepreneurs come and share their story of how they're being successful right here in our backyard. Here's to a year full of meaningful connection.
Thank you, Julie. At this time, I'd also like to invite Jennifer Wandersleben, who's the administrator at Winter Park Memorial Hospital, to come and share a few words on behalf of our second presenting sponsor, Florida Hospital.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We are thrilled to sponsor this event because we really we value being a part of this amazing community. And we have a lot of exciting things happening at the hospital. You may have noticed a little bit of construction. We're excited about topping out our Nicholson Pavilion at the beginning of April. And this is going to be the home to 140 private rooms and bathrooms. And it would not be possible without the generosity of Tony and Sonia Nicholson. And they're with me here today. Would you join me in thanking them for their gift to this community? And in January 2017, we became a designated stroke center. And that means for patients who are experiencing stroke symptoms that we would diagnose and treat very quickly and help them through their continuum of care. This would also not be possible without the collaboration with our EMS amazing teams. You see, they actually called us with over 300 alerts that they may have a stroke patient that they brought to us last year alone. And they helped us be able to diagnose, treat, and even administer life-saving medication that reverses the permanent side effects of stroke. Would you help me recognize our amazing EMS teams and first responders in the room? And before I leave today, I wanted to talk about the people, the caregivers at the hospital. They're not just nurses and physicians, but it takes an entire team. And today I invited Assistant Security Supervisor George Sanchez, and he's with me today. George, can you stand for just a minute? Thank you, George. You see, I would love to tell you just one story about George, but I hear a story almost every month about how he interacts with our patients and our guests. And one might be, which recently happened, where we had a patient that lost her shoes somewhere between the emergency department and her room. And he was called to take a report, and he went to the room, and he actually was able to hear her story and description in her native language, Spanish. And he didn't just stop there, but he hunted down until he found those shoes. And you may think that that's such a small thing, but when you're a patient and you are in pain, you're alone, you're scared, something as simple as not knowing where your shoes makes a big difference. And not only that, I have to share one last thing. Last year we had a lady come to the emergency department, outside the emergency department, and she was in labor. And he was stationed outside the emergency department, and he jumped into action. This baby was not going to wait. And he called for help, and he actually assisted in delivering a baby boy. So, George, thank you so much for what you do. I recently heard John Rivers talk about how if you try really hard, you might be able to figure out his secret sauce, his barbecue sauce. You might be able to figure out his technique for how he cooks his brisket, but you can't duplicate his people. And I feel the same way about our caregivers at the hospital, and I feel the same way about our community here today. So today, as we celebrate our great city and our men and women who make Winter Park the best place to live, I want to congratulate the award winners as well, and thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'd also like to recognize our supporting sponsors, Lowndes, Drosdick, Doster, Cantor, and Reed, PA, and the University of Central Florida, and the Alfond Inn for hosting us here today. We greatly appreciate your partnership. Please join me now in welcoming back to the stage Jana Rickey, our chair of the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Jana.
Okay, do I have food in my teeth? This annual event goes to show the great tradition of collaboration and partnership that exists between the City of Winter Park and the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce. Today, we will feature Winter Park Mayor Steve Leary's annual State of the City address and the presentation of the city's Employees of the Year awards. For me, this is one of the highlights of the year every single year. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Winter Park City Manager, Randy Knight. Not so fast. Randy has served as city manager since 2007. You know, when you get in the 20s and the teens, and then you got to go back to 2007. And for 13 years prior, served as assistant city manager. Randy is an honest, fair, hands-on manager that humbly leads a staff of approximately 500 full-time employees. As a CPA, Randy has the discerning eye to manage $165 million budget effectively to ensure the city provides the highest quality of services for its residents, businesses, and its guests. As city manager, Randy informs our 5 elected officials of important issues so they are able to make sound policy decisions that affect the approximately 20,000 citizens of this community. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce our city manager, Randy Knight.
Excuse me. Thank you, Jana and Betsy, for this opportunity. It is one of our favorite events, too, as we get an opportunity to honor some of those hardworking city employees that oftentimes don't get that praise that many of them deserve. And so I appreciate this opportunity. I do want to thank our sponsor of this award is the Orlando Federal Credit Union, and they provide $500 cash, which is just as good as money, for all of the employee winners of this award. So I'd like to ask that the representatives from Orlando Federal Credit Union stand up. Ms. Suzanne Weinstein, President and CEO. Ms. Sharon Berry, Vice President of Marketing. And Ms. Kelly DeRoche, the Member and Business Relationships Manager. Thank you for once again partnering with the city to honor these employees. With that, I'd like to bring up David Zusi, who's our Director of Utilities, and his Employee of the Year, George Richardson.
Thank you very much. There was a little snafu. Clarissa said I could have 20 minutes. No. Quickly, I just wanted to tell you that George and his whole family are at a wedding in New York, so he was not or is not able to attend, but we will pass along the appreciation. I'm very, very proud that George was selected as the Employee of the Year from such a qualified group of employees. Unfortunately, he's not able to attend because of the wedding, but it's somewhat serendipitous because his first reaction when I informed him of the award was that he couldn't accept it because there are so many other more deserving employees. So that sort of sums up George in a sentence. Every manager of people has a handful of go-to people. George Richardson, who is a field supervisor for our Water and Wastewater Construction Services Division, is one of my top go-to people. His talented group of construction crews are actively involved right now in the I-4 Ultimate project. They have been and are working on over 15 utility crossings to that corridor, and those improvements will improve the water quality, the water service, and fire protection for many of our customers on the west side of the interstate. The work that they're doing also is going to save us over $1.7 million in money that we were quoted from private contractors to do that same work. During his 30-year career with the city, George has been involved in some of the really most technically difficult, challenging projects and has come up with some extremely creative solutions that ultimately save the city millions of dollars. Examples are, and a few long-term people might remember, an inverted siphon project we did on Palmer Avenue, which was literally allows water to flow uphill by gravity, quite an interesting little project. We had a big upgrade along Interlochen, and his creative solution was during construction to literally float the pipe across the lake so that we could have a seamless run that we could pull in and make the improvements without disrupting almost anybody along the lake. And most recently, we installed a large wet well for a lift station on Lee Road near Home Depot. And that project required renting a large crane and excavator and still saved the city over $85,000 on that one project. He's been instrumental in developing and perfecting some cutting-edge construction technologies that we use, such as horizontal directional drilling and pipe bursting, and we're really the first municipality to employ those on a regular basis and have been a poster child for the industry in other municipalities that are interested in doing it. His work has helped utility customers, of course, but he also works cross-departmentally and has helped in public works stormwater projects, information technologies, fiber conduit run installations, parks, restrooms. I would hazard a guess that there's not a person in this room that hasn't benefited from something that George has done since in the project he's been involved in since he's been with the city. While the work that he and his very talented team performs is not glamorous work, in fact, many times it's invisible once it's done. It's not a new building or a new road. The fact is that he exemplifies the city's core values. He sets a very positive role model for his coworkers, and he's involved in many, many projects that contribute to the exceptional quality of life that we come to expect in Winter Park. And I'm accepting for George, and we'll pass it along his appreciation or your appreciation.
Thank you, David. Don't tell George about the $500. I'd like to now ask Deputy Fire Chief Pat McCabe to come forward with the Fire Rescue Employee of the Year, Eric Wheaton.
Thank you, Randy. Good afternoon. Chief White is out of the state, and he asked me to say a few words. Engineer Eric Wheaton has been selected as the department's 2018 Firefighter of the Year. Eric is what is referred to in the fire service as a legacy. His father, Wally Wheaton, who is also here with us today, has worked with the department for over 30 years. Since coming on with the city in July of 2007, Eric has excelled at every aspect of his job. His care for the job is unmatched. He routinely leads training programs, not only within our own agency, but serves as a well-respected instructor on the national stage. He represents our city, our department, and his family with pride and honor. As a leader, Eric takes it upon himself to set an example for our newer firefighters. No matter the time of day or any other daily distraction around the firehouse, Eric continuously prepares himself and his rig for service. He is meticulous in assuring all tools and equipment are in ready status. His supervisors say a firefighter like Eric doesn't come along very often. They trust him with any assignment. He sets the bar very high for those who follow. It gives me great pleasure in recognizing Eric Wheaton as our 2018 Firefighter of the Year.
Thank you. Now, Police Chief Michael Dill will present the Police Officer of the Year to Ryan Wing.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about one of my employees, one of my shining stars. It's my pleasure to recognize Officer Ryan Ring as the Winter Park Police Officer of the Year. Officer Wing was nominated by his peers and his supervisors because he continually goes above and beyond the call of duty. Whether it's looking for criminal suspects, interacting with the public, or coming up with new training ideas, Officer Wing's level of service and commitment are exemplary. He's been involved in many arrests recently, to include finding a suspect who was in the progress of breaking into a business. He recently chased down a suspect who stole a couple cell phones. He is young, and so we need people like him that can still run. On a different call for service, his supervisor commended him for the effort he put forth in counseling a young person who is contemplating suicide. When he takes a report, Officer Wing takes the initiative to follow up on the case and do as much as he can before the case is assigned to an investigator, which in many cases it doesn't even need to go to an investigator because he's able to either identify a suspect and close the case, which obviously is important and saves a lot of time. Officer Wing is also described as polite, courteous, and patient. Recently, he responded to a call for service for an elderly lady who was moving into her new home at the Village Park Senior Living. The lady paid in full to have people move her. Unfortunately, they didn't finish the job. They left all of her belongings in the U-Haul truck at night outside the facility she was moving into. Officer Wing took it upon himself and got a couple of his squad mates, and together they helped this lady unload her truck and move her stuff in. Officer Wing works the night shift, 6 p.m., 6 a.m. He and his squad mates are out there every night protecting us while most of us are at home safe with our families. These officers are our sheepdogs. They put their lives on the line every night protecting us from the wolves. It's been a few years, but I remember what it was like to work the road, especially at night. I remember the dangers and the sacrifices. Today, it's getting tougher and tougher to recruit and hire good young police officers like Officer Wing. It is more dangerous now than ever, and the lack of support and criticism certainly turns many young people away towards other professions. As the chief of police, I see firsthand the difficulties in recruiting and hiring police officers. We are very fortunate to work in a city where the community supports us, and I appreciate that. In this room, I appreciate that. Every day I hear support from citizens in Winter Park, so it's great to work here. We're also very fortunate to work in a city where violent crime is relatively low. However, don't let that fool you. The dangers associated with this job are still out there. They're driving around and they're walking around our streets every day. These dangers are real and are on the minds of every police officer and their families, regardless of where they work. Officer Wing has a family. His wife, Kristen, is here today. Kristen, thank you. And Ryan and Kristen have a baby daughter, Bria, 5 months old. I'm fortunate to be at home with my family most nights. Like you, I depend on these officers to keep my family and I safe while we're asleep. I'm thankful for officers like Officer Wing who are willing to step up and do this job. These officers are not just your heroes, they're my heroes too. So it gives me great pleasure to recognize one of our heroes as Police Officer of the Year. Thank you.
Congratulations to all our award recipients, and thank you to all the city staff who work so hard for our city. And now, please welcome Steve Leary, our mayor of the beautiful city of Winter Park. Mayor Leary.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Well, it was interesting to have a man of faith open this with a quote from Vince Lombardi. So thank you. That's a good way to get started. Folks, last year I introduced the Mayor's Founders Award to honor an individual, family, or organization whose commitment, whose dedication and actions have built upon our founders' vision and have developed Winter Park into the best place to live, work, and play for individuals and families of all ages. The award itself hope it doesn't fall. That could hurt. It's intentionally not your usual glass, shiny, polished award. Each award is a bit unique and reflective of the honoree's work. This year's honoree moved a lot of earth, moved a lot of pipes, built a lot of roads, and built a lot of buildings. Thus, the brick, which once served as a part of roadway in Winter Park. Alan Trevillion's grandfather was a doctor who brought his family to Winter Park in 1908 when the former doctor of the town passed away. Winter Park population was 450 people at the time. It's about 100 years ago. We complain about growth now. Imagine those people. The buggies were a little tough to get around. Alan was born in 1926, and after graduating high school, he joined the U.S. Air Corps. And then he went on to the University of Florida, graduating in 1950 with a degree in building construction. He came back to work for a local contractor whose office was on Wellborn Avenue. And before long, he broke off to start his own successful contracting company. Alan Trevillion Construction built large custom homes and small and medium commercial buildings. Alan built many of the UCF fraternities and sororities, and he also built Winter Park City Hall. Maybe perhaps as some sort of penance, he ended up building a lot of churches in Winter Park too. Built the Catholic Church, the Methodist Church, the Baptist Church, and more. Right, Alan? In 1962, Alan was appointed the 43rd mayor of Winter Park when Mayor Ed Gurney was elected to the U.S. House. It's a nice way to win an election, Alan. Alan also went on to serve in the Florida House of Representatives, and one of his aides was Andy Gardner, who ended up becoming president of the Senate in Florida. Alan's extremely proud of his work on the West Side. His efforts included running water and sewer pipes, paving the dirt roads, building curbs and sidewalks, and actually building the city's first swimming pool before it was swallowed up over there. Alan and his wife, Vicki, are still very present in Winter Park, and on May 1st, they will celebrate Alan's 92nd birthday. The award reads, the 2018 Mayor's Founders Award, Mayor Alan Trevillion, with sincere appreciation for your lifetime building upon our founders' vision. Friends, I'm going to ask Vicki to come up and get this award, but please give it up for the 43rd Mayor of Winter Park, Mr. Alan Trevillion.
Oh, my. Well, he's going to come and say something, so I'll just stand aside.
Yeah. All right, you're on the clock.
I'm on the clock.
Yeah. Don't be cracking into my time.
Well, I appreciate it that you asked me to be here because I've had a wonderful life in my life. It's just, I couldn't tell you exactly what all I've been through. And it's all been good. And it really is. My grandfather came here in 1917, and they had no things to drive in, but they got to drive in, and then after the First World War, everything went bad there, and they put Winter Park started to get going, and that's a one thing that happened. But I just want to thank you for all that we had, my group that worked with me. It was really something, and actually we did so much. I'll tell you this, I'm not bragging, but we built the biggest units out on Orange Fork, out there, and they've rebuilt the one on the left side or the west side, and the other one has been rebuilt and added to, and the city of Winter Park was recommended as the one that did the most work in the time that I was here. And I tell you, you've talked about what we did to the colored people. We're glad to do it. And I'm not going to talk anymore. But
thank you.
When you're 92 and you want the mic, you take the mic. I'll tell you that. Thank you, Betsy. Jana, are you back in yet? I think you were supposed to introduce me, so I'm a little insulted that you gave Randy a really nice introduction. I also want to thank my fellow commission members, Carolyn, Pete, Sarah, over there, and Greg. We each bring a unique perspective to the dais. I appreciate the commitment you all make. So we are working well as a team. Thank you. Thank you to our city staff who works every day to keep this such a special place. And most especially, I want to thank each of you. As Julie and Jennifer touched on, your contributions really make this city great. It's not a brick. It's not a tree. It's you all. So thank you. 2017 was another great year in Winter Park. I'd like to share some highlights, some of the things we're working on, and then talk about some challenges and our path forward. This past year, we added 55 acres of parkland to Winter Park with the acquisition of the Howell Branch Preserve. To give you a bit of a picture on how big that is, that's bigger than the golf course and Central Park combined. I don't know when the last time that has happened in the city, but I can't recall. Plans are underway for this to be a natural park for hiking, canoeing, kayaking, and more. We're also working with our partners in Maitland to possibly do a joint planning agreement with them and leverage their property, which is right next to us, which would make this about a 115-acre park. So plans are in the works, and we're having discussions and seeing if they're receptive to that. 2017 was the first full year in operation of our Winter Park golf course. It is now rated one of the top 10 nine-hole golf courses in the country. We also went, if you like that, We also went, I hope you like this just as much, if not more. We went from losing upwards of $250,000 a year on that course to breaking even. So it was a major investment. We've instituted Project Bloom, which is sprucing up landscaping around town. You should be seeing that. The Friends of Mead Gardens, I have a lot of friends here, Jeffrey, who continue to revitalize our largest park. We've seen the great success of Showalter Field, which tomorrow will host Restore the Roar to raise funds to support the Winter Park High School Foundation. This year, we'll begin work on the St. Andrews Trail, which is a $2 million project paid for by the state. We like that, too. And our great friends at Full Sail University, Gary and Isis, I see you over there, are leading the charge alongside the Nature Conservancy in bringing awareness to Central Florida regarding the Monarch Initiative, which helps protect pollinators, a great program as well. More details about this will be unveiled in April as part of Earth Month. Folks, transportation and congestion on our roads is an important quality of life issue. Between 2010 and 2017, the population of Winter Park grew by just under 1,500 residents. It's about 5%. During the same time, Metro Orlando grew by almost 253,000 residents. The traffic in Winter Park, most of it on our main north, south, east, west corridors, is from our neighbors moving through Winter Park. So what are we doing to help alleviate this? In 2017, we approved the funding of a fiber optic network that will connect our traffic signals. We can use this network to feed into an intelligent traffic system to help smooth the flow of traffic through the city so the lights will speak to one another. We're also seeing the benefits of the Lee Road extension, which has smoothed traffic at Lee, Webster, and 1792. And last year, we purchased the old Fairbanks Bowl property right there at the intersection of 1792 and Fairbanks. It was acquired so that we can widen that intersection and lengthen the turn lanes to help smooth traffic there too, especially at rush hour. And this year, we're working with the FDOT on an FD&E study for 1792 to not only help smooth the traffic, it'll be a major beautification effort. Plans are underway for that as well. Our electric utility. I didn't see Dan D'Alessandro. Dan, are you here? There you are. Danny, before I get into just the things that you've done this year, I want to recognize Dan. After Hurricane Irma, when he was still probably sleep deprived, a little bit out of breath, Dan got on a plane and went down to St. Croix after Hurricane Matthew and helped them rebuild their entire electric utility. So, Dan, thank you for representing us so well. After Hurricane Irma, your city commission approved an additional $1 million to address issues that arose during the storm. So this year we'll have at least $4.5 million going to our electric underground, which is, again, we're normally at $3.5 million. It's an extra $1 million this year. We have 9 years left on our original 20-year program, and we continue to review ways in which to responsibly expedite even that timeline. Our fiber network that I mentioned earlier. During Irma, we also discovered that the lift stations failed due to power outages, and sewage began to back up the lines. If your home is near one of those lines, you know what I'm talking about. Our response was delayed because the third-party cellular network that we had partnered with failed. These systems will now be connected by our underground fiber network, giving us real-time information. So if there is failure, we know immediately, and we can get generators out there. We have done all this and much more, much more, very responsibly. Your tax dollars have been well managed. We have over 20% of our general fund in reserve, our rainy day fund, and we have not raised the tax rate in Winter Park in 11 years. We have the third lowest tax rate in all of Orange County. Those are just a few of the highlights, but there's also others. The groundbreaking. I saw Patty. Where'd you go, Patty Maddox? There you are. The groundbreaking for Project Wellness. Our new community paramedicine program, which is very successful. Our new police neighborhood advisory committee, also very successful. The creation, Clarissa, you took this on, the creation of our arts and culture subcommittee, which this past weekend hosted the very successful Weekend of the Arts. We've added to our historic places inventory through incentives, not by forcing people to get into the program. We provided funding assistance to the Winter Park Housing Authority. How? To build a handicap-accessible apartment at the Meadows. We also increased funding, thank you, Commission, for both the Welborn and Winter Park Day Nurseries. This room is filled with individuals and organizations that make this community a very special place. We as elected officials cannot do this alone. I can point to people at almost every table in here that make this a special place. I have the Petracuses who are supposed to be at my table today, but when Mickey Mouse calls, the mouse takes priority over the mayor. So James and Julie could not be with us today. But what I wanted to do is recognize them. They have deep roots in the community who not too long ago opened the Ravenous Pig in a pretty slowly redeveloping area along Orange Avenue. They've been recognized for their culinary talents across the country and beyond, but the nerve and grit, and anybody that's been in the restaurant business knows what it takes. The nerve and grit to open their restaurant years ago helped revitalize that entire corridor. They now have other concepts, including Swine & Sons, and other locations, including Disney and the airport, to take a bit of Winter Park and share our brand everywhere. I want to thank James and Julie. You don't have to clap too long for them, but just a little one because they're not here. for their commitment. Also at my table is Hal George. Hal doesn't know I was going to recognize him. He's all embarrassed now. You may know Hal as the owner and operator of Parkland Homes, but Hal's commitment to Winter Park is so much greater. He serves on the CRA and the Winter Park Housing Authority, among many other community service organizations. But he's also the driving force behind Habitat for Humanity in Winter Park. He has led the charge to provide 54 homes to low-income residents and families to make sure everyone that wants to live in Winter Park is available. He also is building 10 in Maitland. Not bad for an old Rollins College water skier. Al, thank you. Now this next one, this is going to hurt me because she didn't know I was going to recognize her, and she's going to kill me later. Leslie O'Shaughnessy. And those of you who know Leslie know what I mean. Leslie has been involved in so many ways with the city over the years, her impact is impossible to quantify. She worked as Congressman Micah's local representative, made sure that we were always a presence in Washington. Currently, she serves as Special Assistant to Orange County Mayor Jacobs for homelessness and housing, coordinating efforts on homelessness across the county. Her work touches lives here in Winter Park and much further beyond. She has also volunteered to serve on our library and events task force to help guide that program forward. Leslie, thank you for your broad perspective and your positive impact. I've seen that look before, and usually she's going to hit me later. With people like these and all of you, we will continue to improve Winter Park in areas such as parks, transportation, emergency services, utilities, and more. Last year, I asked that we all look to the future and combat the obstacles that will prevent us from becoming all that we can become. I asked that we all pay particular attention to how we treat one another. We cannot be a special place if we treat others in a common manner. We are in competition with communities across the globe to attract the best and brightest to Winter Park. The no people who stand against everything and have no plausible alternative to all that they oppose are moving on. Because you cannot build a community on no. It holds no value, it holds no hope, and it holds no promise. We and many others build this community, and we will keep doing just that. I ask it again that you join me, follow the lead of our founders, and continue to be a welcoming community. This year, I warn of another concern and ask for your assistance. Our leaders in Tallahassee have lost their way. Members of the Florida House and Senate have chosen leadership, party, lobbyists, and their own selfish interests over the constituents that sent them to Tallahassee in the first place. Their overt attempts to preempt home rule and create a one-size-fits-all legislation is beyond dangerous. It's borderline unconstitutional. This is not hyperbole, folks. Anybody that knows me knows that I don't partake in that. We are not Orlando, Ocoee, Oviedo. We are not Eatonville, any of our closest neighbors and friends. We operate in conjunction with and in many ways in competition with one another. We don't lack respect for our neighboring towns. Indeed, our strength is in our appreciation of our differences. Decisions regarding local issues need to be made at the local level to maintain this uniqueness. Decisions regarding vacation rentals, where your neighbor's house can become a daily rental, or CRAs, which are agreements between cities and counties to assist in revitalization efforts in specific areas. Think of Hannibal Square. Or millage rates, where Tallahassee would set our local tax rate. There was even an attempt this year to set statewide standards on tree trimming. Tree trimming. State standards. I'm not kidding. This is going on in Tallahassee. Because there was a single individual who was upset that his local municipality was holding him to a higher standard on his property. He wanted to introduce legislation to tell the entire state what the tree trimming standard should be. These and many other power grab bills were proposed this year in Tallahassee. Having these decisions made for all of us by the state legislature means less diversity and choice for residents, businesses, and guests. The overreach by the state House and Senate is shocking. Let me do this. Quick show of hands. Who can name, we don't have to call it out, who can name the Speaker of the House of Florida? Yeah, most of them are electeds that are raising their hands. How about the Senate President? Okay, no appointeds and no electeds. How many of you can name the three people that represent the city of Winter Park and Tallahassee? All three. Okay. They are crafting legislation that would impact our daily life, our uniqueness. You know us. You may not like us, But you know your local leaders. You see us in the supermarket. You see us at church. You see us at community events. We hear from you often. Yeah, that's fine. I'm glad it was Vicky and not me. You know, there is a saying, and it's true, that government closest to the people is best. Leadership, parties, lobbyists, and individual self-interests have trumped your interests in Tallahassee. This issue has been featured in the media this past year many different times. We didn't think it get worse after last session, but we were wrong. It is much worse. It's an all-out assault on our rights. We will post on our website information on how to get in touch with these individuals, and please let them know that you expect them to represent you. Don't let them tell you that you don't understand how things work in Tallahassee. That may be true, actually. They may know how things do work because they have forgotten how things are supposed to work. We need your help. Your vote is the only thing outside of leadership offices that sparks response in Tallahassee. I can tell you that because when we sent out an email not too long ago, 4 hours later, I got a call from a state representative who said, "What are you doing? You're killing me. I'm getting calls into my office." I said, "That's the way it's supposed to work." He said, "No, tell him to call the speaker." I said, "No, we're telling you to go in the speaker and defend us and fight for us." So we are going to get information out to ask you to help us. Friends, I want to thank you again for being here today. 2017 was a phenomenal year in the city of Winter Park. I want to thank you for standing together to build upon our founder's vision. And I want to thank you for your commitment to Winter Park's past, present, and future. Thank you all very much.
Well, when you get called out by the mayor, man, that's a bad thing. All I can say is I have a true confession. I'm sleep deprived. I'm an Olympic junkie. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Knight, and truly, truly congratulations to all of our award winners today. Thank you to our sponsors, ACI Architects, Florida Hospital, Lowndes, Drosdick, Doster, Cantor, and Reed, University of Central Florida, sorry, the game. So sorry. And of course, the Alfond Inn. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day. Nothing like being in Winter Park.